Okay, this is part four of the Electoral Reform Act. This is by Robert David Steele, and 5betaiota.net is his website. You can check that out. It's got some excellent information. I'm going to try to stay on topic this time, not to get too far off track. But we're up to number nine, paper ballot, and exit polls. So we did talk a little bit about exit polling in the last segment. Um, this time, what he's saying here is electronic voting, easy to hack, vote uh, counted secretly. So the fix is paper ballots counted publicly each hour on the hour with independent exit polls, not the corrupt national polling companies controlled by the two-party tyranny and the Wall Street elite. This limits both easily hackable electronic voting machines and the practice of discarding the actual vote and reporting desired vote state by state. Now possible because of secret backdoor room vote tallying. Yeah, so I spoke about it in the other segment where, you got these guys, they're counting the vote. They could put in a box, like I said, they could put a box of 1,000 Trump votes in one box, and that box can just disappear, or Bernie Sanders vote. Bernie Sanders wins by 10,000, right? Well, there's 10 boxes went to the dumpster, or 20 boxes went in the dumpster. So he loses by 10,000. You know what I'm saying? So um, the idea here is that publicly. So in other words, everybody votes on paper, and we have cameras. Each polling station should have cameras, and you should watch each and every vote. Boom, ba boom, ba boom. Nothing, they shouldn't be going into the back room and hiding, because this is actually what happened too. There was some um, polling inspectors or polling monitor people. There's a lot of like just normal citizens, just people that wanted to have a real good vote. They would show up to polling stations and they wanted to be present during the vote count. And this also happens definitely in recounts. Recounts is just outrageous, but I think a recount is too late because, like I said, if you're going to throw a few boxes away of votes or ballots, you do that beforehand. So you do that before the recount happens. So a recount is kind of a joke, anyway. Um, but what Robert David Steele is talking about here is to have it public and also have it videoed. So if you video count it, then you can anybody from the public should be able to watch and see each vote, um, and they can say, yeah, that was they voted it right. They voted each number and it was correct. Why should it be hidden from the public? And then you should be able to videotape the whole thing. Now, honestly, if there wasn't so much cheating, I think uh, we should have it online, basically, where you can log into a website and you can just vote. And if we can have banking online, we can have voting online. Although the problem with putting it all online and centralizing it is it makes it real easy to cheat. So if the person that's controlling, you'd have to have open source. Robert Davis still talks about open source everything too. So if you had open source database, let's say an open source website where anybody in the country could go on and vote, you could really make things a lot better because you could go online, you'd vote. Um, my theory would be to where you could log on at any time and see your voting history of your lifetime, and you could see if it changed. You know what I mean? That's the way you could uh, have the integrity of the vote. So in other words, the database would be set up as open source database, meaning nobody could tamper with it, and any individual citizen, for instance, you could go to any person in the country and they could log into their account and they could see their account and they could see their voting history and they could say, no, that's wrong. That vote was changed. I voted for this guy instead of that guy or whatever. You know what I mean? So, in other words, after the vote or the election day, you shouldn't be able to change your vote. So it's set in stone. But you should be able to go on the web page and be able to see what you voted for. Actually, in California, they do have something similar, or not similar, but Um, they are supposed to. Now, it doesn't happen in every county and every district and everything, but what they're supposed to do is, for instance, I send in my vote by mail. They're supposed to take a picture of it, like scan it in, put it on the website, and when I go to my website and put in my social security number and stuff, I can go and see that my ballot is there, and it's an accurate ballot. It's what I actually said. Now, that's kind of a simple thing. Every ballot should be scanned into a computer, and you should have a trail. I was thinking, even if you do have voting machines in polling stations, you should get a paper receipt. So in other words, you got a receipt that says how you voted. You got another receipt, so you get a duplicate, two of them. One you take home with you, one you stick in the box. So if they have to do a recount, they can either count the machine or they can also count the paper that you stuck the receipt in the box, right? So you got two things. And that way, when you look at the receipt, you can see that everything you voted for was correct. So that's one way I think. This is my personal way. I don't know if other people have come up with this idea before, but you take one home and you stick one in the box. That way, you have a receipt of everything that you voted for on that day. That's if you go to the machine. Obviously, when I send my vote by mail, I scan that sucker in and I have a copy of it myself when I send it. Then they're supposed to scan it at their location, put it on website, and so I can see it, which is a good deal. And those type of things should be done. Now, I don't know if my actual vote was counted though. You see what I'm saying? So one thing that we can have in the system when they scan all these and put them on the website, um, there should also be a way to look on the website and see every vote without people's names, so you can kind of get an idea of who, what everybody did. But anyway, that's different than what Robert Davis Steele's talking about. He's just saying paper ballots and exit polling. So exit polling is really good too because you need exit polling. Basically, that's how the State Department and other people determine if other countries are cheating in their elections. So we're using it, and we're holding other countries accountable for having the wrong exit polls. But here we in the United States, the beacon of liberty and democracy, and we don't even trust our own exit polling. This is ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, we should have legitimate exit polling, not done by these polling companies that cheat and rig everything, but real exit polling by independent third parties or even other countries. I mean, because why does another country care if we cheat? So we should have. It's funny. I heard one time ex-president Jimmy Carter. He actually goes to other countries and examines their polling and examines their if their elections are fair. And he said that our elections in the United States are so bad it wouldn't even meet up to his minimum standards. So even Jimmy Carter's agents are, I forgot what it's called, but even they aren't willing to take a chance and keep an eye on the United States because it's so corrupt. Anyway, okay, so what's the next one? This one's very interesting too. Paper ballots is end the winner take all. Now, Jill Stein brought this up during this election about instant runoff, or another name for that is called um, rank choice voting, which is a way, and actually they have that kind of similar to that in California, where what you do is, let's say in a primary, you don't really go by party affiliation, um, but you vote for, let's say if there's 10 people, um, obviously if someone out of the 10 people gets over 51%, then they just won. So they don't even have to go to a general or anything. They won because they got over 51%. Something like that. You can make that a different number. You can make it 60% or some other percent. They really, if they just, like, even in the primary, just totally blow everybody out. And it's not a primary for a Democratic primary, Republican primary, this primary, that primary. No, one primary for everybody. You get what I'm saying? So each That's part of the way they rig the system. Is they have a Republican primary and then a Democrat primary for the same position, and then they have a Green primary and this primary and that primary, and it's just a huge mess. Forget that, man. We should have one primary, one general, period, for everybody for each position. So anyway, the way ranked choice voting is, you rank your choices. So you put, let's say, there's a lot of people who obviously would have voted for Bernie Sanders, or forget about Bernie Sanders, because if he would have ran third party, I think he would have won. He made a huge mistake backing Hillary Clinton, which is a totally different story, but whatever. I mean, I don't know what happened. Uh, but anyway, this is a different point. I'm getting off topic. Um, Ranked choice voting, what it means is, let's say you got the four-way race, which was Trump, Clinton, Jill Stein, and Gary. I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, forget about him. Let's keep him out. um, so let's say you really wanted Jill Stein to win. She's your number one choice, but you're afraid Trump would win, or vice versa. Maybe you're afraid of Hillary Clinton, which is me. Actually, if I ranked choices, believe it or not, I would have put Jill Stein, Gary Twinkle Toes, then Trump, then Hillary Clinton. It should have been my last choice, okay? And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would have Trump as their last choice, but whatever. Anyway, so what happens is, if it's a general election, let's say, it's pretty simple. Whoever gets the most votes wins. But let's say in the first round with your first choice, let's say, all right, let's say Jill Stein didn't win. Let's say Trump gets 40% and Hillary Clinton gets 40% or whatever, and Jill Stein gets 20%. Let's say something like that. So 40 and 40, that's a tie between those two, but Jill Stein definitely lost because she only got 20%, right? So what you do is you look at everybody who voted for Jill Stein and you look at their second choice. Okay? So if their second choice, let's say, I'm going to go with, let's say out of that 20%, 11% voted for Trump and 9% voted for Hillary Clinton. What you do is, since your second choice for Jill Stein, 11% was Trump, you give Trump 11%. The second choice for Jill Stein, they thought Hillary Clinton for 9%. You give her 9%. So then in that case, you got 51% for Trump, 49% for Hillary Clinton. Trump wins. Okay? That's the idea. So it's ranked choice. So you don't have to vote for the lesser of two evils. You vote for who you want. Now, the reason why the two-party system doesn't do it that way is because they know at some point in time you're going to get, in the first round, you're going to get 40% Jill Stein, 40% somebody else, and maybe Hillary Clinton is going to get 20%. Maybe she's going to be the one that gets 20%. Because if people vote their conscience, then these primary party people are going to be the ones that get the second choice. And then at that point, what happened would be, since Jill Stein maybe got 40%, let's say Jill got 40%, Trump got 40%, and Hillary Clinton got 20%, let's say. You know what that means, don't you? I can almost guarantee you everybody that voted for Hillary Clinton at the 20%, their second choice is almost definitely going to be Jill Stein, right? I don't think anybody would vote for Hillary Clinton as their first choice and not have Jill Stein as their second choice. It's almost inconceivable. So you know what you would have? You would have a President Jill Stein right now. Or actually, if that doesn't sound good to you, we could have had a three-way race between Bernie Sanders and literally, there is no possible way that if you had ranked choice voting, people that voted their first choice for Hillary Clinton would have voted definitely second choice for Bernie Sanders. But I think more people would have voted first choice Bernie, second choice Hillary. That's how it would have shaken out. So anyway, that's the beauty of ranked choice voting and why we need ranked choice voting, so we can get other people and we don't have this two-party tyranny. Um, and it's also called instant runoff because what happens is, if there was a tie or something like that, it's an automatic thing because you look at your second choice. And it actually goes down to third choice too. I mean, it could go as far down as you want. You could have five choices. So let's see what number 11. Number 11 is legislate written by lobbyists, voters without reading secret clauses. So all legislation should be posted online in advance. I like that idea. I think even Ron Paul was bringing that up a while back. Uh, all legislation should really be easy. It should be easy to read, easy to understand. You shouldn't have to be like a lawyer with 20 years of experience to understand what the hell's going on. You should be able to read it, and it should be make sense, and it should be posted publicly. Also, this is exactly right. Online, they should have every bill online for every person to read. I actually believe that we don't need a, you know, after all this stuff about electoral reform, my idea is we don't need politicians at all. We should really have referendum government. We should every vote, like if we wanted to go to war or something like that, it should be put online, just like what he's talking about here, and we should vote on each individual thing. We don't even need representative. I mean, representative is an idea that's old. It made sense back in the day when you had to ride a horse 1,000 miles to get to Washington, and there was no instantaneous communication worldwide and things like that. So you did need a representative. You had people that needed to represent you far away because you couldn't represent yourself, right? We don't have that anymore. Now we have instantaneous communication. We have computers. We have everything. You could literally have everybody vote on everything. Some people don't like that idea because they think the people are stupid. But I can tell you one thing: we would have universal health care. We'd be out of all these wars. We wouldn't have bankers getting bailed out. Okay, every bad thing that we have in the government, and all this stuff about. I mean, really, really. The funny part is this whole electoral reform concept would become moot if we had referendum government, where, like I said, all legislation, all like policies, decisions would be put to a vote. You'd have to have you know what I mean? You could put Trump or whoever. I mean, you could have representatives, but they never make the decision. You get what I'm saying? You'd have these representatives. They'd go on TV or whatever, and they say, "Look, we are gonna propose this idea for infrastructure project or national health care or go to war or whatever," and then we have everybody vote. They'd have to make a case that would have to be like other people, kind of like the idea of Robert David Steele here about how he says you have debates where you have uh, a cabinet debate and each person debate for each thing. I say they should debate on subjects, so referendums and stuff like that. So anyway, that's another whole different story. Um, but I think we can eliminate representatives. I think and go with true democracy. Although there's another true democracy that we need. Additionally, if you look at Richard Wolff, he says we need democracy in the workplace, which is another area where we have no democracy. We have a dictatorship. Every corporation is designed as a dictatorship, but that's a whole other story. Right? Let me move on here. So this legislation is written by lobbyists, and they just vote on it. I mean, so all this stuff goes through Congress. They have no clue what they're doing, and they just vote on this stupid stuff. I mean, it's like gerrymandering and everything else. So obviously, all this stuff will be put online in advance. It should be at least a week. Um, but like I said, I think we should vote. Or here's another idea: um, every constituent of a state or a district should be able to vote, and then you'll have the vote of the congressman, okay, and then the vote of the district. So in other words, you could have a popular vote for each of these ideas and concepts, and you can have the representatives vote. And you can make the representative vote equal to a certain amount of popular vote. You know what I mean? So it could skew it. Or in other words, let's say there was a vote on something yes no, and maybe the vote was really close. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was a 40% to 40-60, let's say, or whatever. Or maybe let's make it even closer than that. Maybe it's 45 to 55. So you're about 10 points off. Maybe your representative could could be a 10% vote or 11% vote or whatever. So he could flip it if it's close. But if it's not close, then the representative that has no say so. In other words, he's only worth 10 or 11 or 20 points or whatever percentage. So we could have a democracy where our elected officials are only a percentage voter. Even it could be a higher percent, like I said, because you could have a million people and they're only worth however many percent, 80%, let's say, and then the representative, you have two representatives, maybe each one of them is worth 10%. So they could still flip a vote if it's close. But if 80% of or if the majority of the actual public votes one way, then the representative couldn't override it because their vote would only be worth. Anyway, I'm going way into the weeds with this, but there's better ways we could organize the system. And then here's another thing: super delegate number 12. This is the final here. Super delegates and other party manipulation and control nomination. So, yeah, he's Robert Davis Steele's got it exactly right. Hillary Clinton stole the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders in three ways. The DNC active measures against Bernie all along. So the DNC was completely complicit. Everything the DNC did was against Bernie Sanders. I mean, from day one, all they tried to do was fight Bernie Sanders, and I mean, literally, I mean, it's just beyond the pale. So then there was outright electric fraud. Like I said, the exit polls in 13 states totally way off. So that was obvious right there. And then manipulation and intimidation with superdelegates. Yeah, superdelegate system is completely corrupt. I mean, it's beyond any reasonable imagination. The mainstream, the establishment picks these people to vote for the establishment candidate. I mean, it couldn't get more corrupt than that. And then here's the other bad thing about superdelegates. It's bad enough that the superdelegates are allowed to um, at the convention to vote for whoever they want to vote for. But the way Hillary Clinton in this last election cheated Bernie Sanders is the mainstream media. They represented the superdelegates all along the way. They literally said that she already had that many electoral count. Like I don't know how much it was, 400, 500 already in the bag. So in other words, even though they don't vote until the convention, in other words, even if you had super delegates, it should be illegal for any one of them to make a representation to tell who they're voting for until the convention. They should be against the law. But the whole thing is completely ridiculous. So anyway, I mean, and the funny part is they talk about how bad the Republicans are. A lot of Democrats say the Republicans cheat and do all this other stuff. But this super delegate is beyond cheating. I mean, this is the worst cheating you've ever seen in your life. So anyway, Bernie Sanders, if it wasn't for super delegates and the media constant, oh, actually, Robert Davis Steele did miss one thing: the media. The media was so complicit throughout the whole thing, and the polling. Every poll. Here's the funny part about polling. I watched all the polls, and I saw the polls that were Bernie Sanders went head to head against Trump, against Rubio, against some of the other Democrat or the Republicans. They actually did those polls, and Bernie Sanders beat the hell out of every single one of those guys. Especially he beat Trump. He beat Trump by over 10 points. Almost every poll that they did, and I think those were legitimate polls. I think they actually had real polls. But then you'd have polls with Hillary Clinton going head to head against Trump. She always won that, but she would lose against Rubio or other people. Like she lost against. So I think those may have been legitimate polls also. But then you'd have this. You'd have. I was reading the polls. So Hillary Clinton beats Trump by maybe 5 points, right? Bernie Sanders would beat Trump by 11 to 20, to 15 points. I mean, he just annihilate. So overall, you had Bernie Sanders beating Trump by more than 10 points above what Hillary was beating him by in a lot of polls. Yet the exact same poll would put Hillary Clinton versus Bernie, and she'd win. So you trying to tell me that the same exact people that voted 10% Bernie over Trump, and then Hillary Clinton 5% over Trump, would vote 5% for Hillary over Bernie? It's completely beyond the pale. So what I think was happening was on all those polls we saw where Bernie went head to head with Hillary, and the same poll where Bernie beat, uh, they were fake. They were fake polls. They were all fake polls. Everyone that said Bernie was losing to Hillary were a fake poll. So let's see. Here's the other thing. He says to fix to the extent that candidates claim party affiliation, and he's exactly right. I predict the next president will be independent, who announces a transpartisan cabinet in advance and demands electoral reform of 2018 as a prequel to their candidacy. Yeah, this makes sense to me. And the candidates should seek a mix of party voters and open primary voters to demonstrate their competitiveness as party affiliated, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so here's the thing. If we had open primaries in a lot of the states, not only did Hillary Clinton cheat with superdelegates, she cheated with 13 states cheated. She cheated because the DNC cheated in every single way. Even stole, even made Bernie's database, made it. They didn't give him access to his own voters, and their database. They put it off limits. Um, and the mainstream media constantly cheated and lied and lied. Everything Hillary did was she walks on water. She's a goddess, and everything Bernie did was they went negative. All the media was negative on Bernie Sanders, and so all these things went up against Bernie, and otherwise he would have won. So, and then here's the other thing: the open or the closed primaries. Closed primaries. Um, Basically, all the states that had open primaries, except for California, which, like I say, I think California was cheat rigged. I know Michael Vu in San Diego cheated everything because there's no way Hillary Clinton beat Bernie Sanders in San Diego. At no possible way. That is just anyway. So whatever. So there was actual cheating of the election and the cheating of the votes, but in other open primaries, Bernie Sanders won. And basically, most of the closed primaries he lost, but he would have won because they closed out independents. And for instance, New York. New York is a big one. New York, Bernie Sanders had just tons of people coming out to the rally. I mean, you had literally districts where he had more people come to see him in the rally than they said voted for him. If you get 100 some thousand people come out and to see you in like several cities, and less than 100,000 people vote for you in those same places, that's something wrong. Something happened. And the closed primary is part of it. But the other aspect of it is that uh, they just cheated. I mean, just flat out cheated. They suppressed the vote. And like I said, um, a lot of them were independent. So and in New York anyway, I'll wrap it up here, but in New York, it takes you have to register with a certain party, and you have to do it 6 months before the certain election, uh, in order to vote in the primary. So that's just complete ridiculous. So anyway, when we talk about open primaries, we're talking about primaries that are not only open, but a single primary for each um, elected official and a single general. So I think that wraps it up. I think it's obvious if you look at Robert David Steele's stuff here, it is very well put together, and you definitely have to. We have to do all these things. We can't just do the money. The money part, and the money part's never going to happen. I mean, you need to push the whole enchilada because the money part, maybe you're not going to get public financing right away. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you have to clean house before you get to that point. And some of these other things are going to help. bring in other voices and elect other people, even without the campaign finance piece of it. So I don't know if you're focusing only on campaign finance. I don't think that's a good deal. But anyway, this is like a super long video. I think I went twice as long as the other ones, but I wanted to wrap it up. So we need campaign. I mean, electoral reform. I mean, here's all the points once again, and this is a nice plan. If Trump were to push this forward, or Bernie Sanders came out and pushed this forward, whoever, Elizabeth Warren, I don't know who you expect to be president, but all these people that say they're for this type of stuff needs to get their hands on this and push it, and not Jill Stein. I mean, if any third party at all thinks that they're ever going to get elected, and make big numbers, this is what we need right here. So I'm going to wrap it up, and hopefully everybody has a great day. And oh, by the way, this channel, I'm trying to focus on solutions to problems. I mean, there's a lot of other channels who focus on a lot of problems, which, is good and whatever. And hopefully with this channel, everyone is going to notice that it's more solutions oriented. So hopefully I'll come out with some more videos pretty soon. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.